Along with money for provinces and cities for housing, the feds are also creating new protections for renters and upping the amount available in loans for new apartment construction. They've also said there will be news on mortgages in the budget next week. But is any of this likely to make a meaningful dent in a problem that has been decades in the making? Mike Moffatt is Senior Director of Policy and Innovation at the Smart Prosperity Institute. Mike, thanks for being with us. I want to start with whether you've heard anything in these pre-budget announcements that is likely to make a big dent in our housing problem.
Yeah, I think there's a few things. I think potentially the most transformative one is the $6 billion for infrastructure spending for municipalities. A lot of what's slowing down housing growth is a lack of water and wastewater infrastructure. This is something the Federation of Canadian Municipalities has pointed out and asked for the federal government for help. So this money will certainly help, but as well, it comes with strings attached that municipalities have to cut municipal red tape, have to allow things like fourplexes as of right. So it's kind of a win-win solution here that municipalities get the infrastructure money they need to build housing, and the federal government is able to cut that red tape and hopefully get some homes built quite a bit faster. We've
already seen pushback in part because, of course, this is, in fact, municipal or provincial jurisdiction. And it kind of looks like the feds are sort of bigfooting their way and saying, we'll solve this for you. Does that matter, do you think? Do you think in the end the other levels of government go along with it because money is money and we all have to solve something here?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen, that municipalities need this money and they're not really in a position to say no. And, you know, I think people are looking for federal leadership. Back in summer of 2023, Prime Minister Trudeau said that, you know, housing is not a primary federal responsibility. He got a lot of flack for that. So now he's saying, okay, well, let's use federal leadership here. So, you know, I think he heard the feedback from last summer from Canadians who said that they want Trudeau to take leadership on this, and he's doing it.
We definitely still have a problem, and we saw recently that the pace of new supply is just not going to meet what we need. Do you have confidence that we're going to see anything different in the year or two or five ahead that would actually get us up to the speed of new homes that we need?
Well, I certainly think we need more policy reform, both from the federal and provincial government. I'm cautiously optimistic that we're going to start to bend this curve in 2025. It's probably not going to happen this year. This is going to take some time to adjust. But yeah, it's been a difficult situation that the projects are just not viable right now at these interest rates and, you know, all of the other rules and regulations and taxes. So, you know, we do need some good luck on global interest rates, but, you know, the things that the federal government is doing to cut taxes and reduce red tape, I think is going to help get shovels in the ground.
We did, of course, get the Bank of Canada on hold this week. We do know rates aren't going to plummet lower anytime soon, but are you feeling good about at least a couple of rate cuts this year?
I'm cautiously optimistic. Unfortunately, we got inflation numbers from the United States that came in a little bit higher than expected. So it seems like every time we're about to get a rate cut, something happens globally that kind of pushes that off. I'm, again, cautiously optimistic we might start seeing some in the fall, but, you know, it's far from a sure thing. And again, with things like, higher inflation in the United States, maybe harder for the Bank of Canada to cut.
Mike, great to have you for this. Appreciate your time.
No, thank you for having me.
Mike Moffatt is Senior Director of Policy and Innovation at the Smart Prosperity Institute. Time for the takeaway and how what isn't said can be more important than what is. Constructing a federal budget is one of the most important things a government will do because it represents the whole agenda of the government. It's not just a chance to account for money spent, but also to offer a vision for the year ahead. In time gone by, budgets were closely guarded secrets on the assumption that they might contain market-moving information. Now, a lot of the key details of a federal budget are leaked out in advance, in dribs and drabs, with a few billion here and a few billion there, so that when the day comes, the news, good and bad, is out, and its impact, good and bad, is muted. But budgets aren't just about what is spent. They are also about what isn't spent. Choices, in other words. When a government spends its revenue, or the money it takes in through various forms of taxes, it's generally supposed to allocate exactly that amount out again. Some amount of it, and we should note it's an increasing amount, goes to the operation of government itself. But the rest should be delivered back to citizens in services or other forms of support. As it makes those spending choices to build infrastructure, send more health dollars to provinces, or invest in our country's entrepreneurs, it is also choosing not to spend on other things that might be considered equally worthy but aren't being prioritized. It's for that reason that budgets feel as much like a vision statement as a financial accounting. The only thing is that lately our governments have been living beyond their means, spending more than they take in. So rather than make hard choices, it feels more like every kid gets a prize. And meanwhile, the line item in the budget that is interest on debt keeps growing larger. My takeaway, the federal budget should matter to Canadians, and keeping it in balance shouldn't feel like an afterthought. That's Taking Stock for this week. I'm Amanda Lang. Thanks for being with us.